Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor Russ Stevens and Uncle Joe McLaughlin. JP's first son, Tim Hoey, hopefully will be joining us any second. We never know.
Waiting in the wings.
He's just coming in on two wheels, as Uncle Joe says. All right, well, boys, we start with the Boston Red Sox. And if you were like me, I was every 10 seconds a few days ago at the deadline looking at Twitter, trying to be the first person who finds out about some deal. And Heim Bloom does nothing, absolutely nothing for a team that is 2 games out of a wild card spot, a playoff spot. We always start with Russell. Russell, first of all, we've talked about it for a number of weeks, but you're probably not too surprised that he did nothing because that's his history.
Yeah, I thought he would middle it, but I thought he would middle it by doing something on each side and end up going down the middle. He actually just middled it by doing nothing.
Nothing, right? And Joe, you don't get nothing for doing nothing.
Well, and if you look at his record post trade deadline over the last 3 years, 12 and 18, 13 and 17, 12 and 18. It reflects the work he did in those 3 years.
No, you're right. Absolutely. And then all of a sudden they're leaking the bullshit stories today of we were almost close with Justin Verlander. Oh, we were very, very close with Justin Turner, trading him. I mean, really? What is that supposed to do?
Like, you got to do it. Look at the Orioles traded for that Jack Flaherty. He started today. They won 6-1, pitched a 4-hitter.
Yeah,
you know that instantly helped. That's where the Orioles needed help, was starting rotation. They pretty much crap, but they helped themselves.
Russ, if you're going to talk about trading Justin Turner, then you have to trade him.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like the Malcolm Brogdon thing, right? Where you're going to put a guy out there and you're willing to trade him, then you should trade him, right? Pulling him back. Now, I think Justin Turner's a grown up and he's been around the block a few times, knows he's a bit of a mercenary anyways here, but I mean, he's been nails the last few weeks, right?
He's got a very nice player option for next year too, like 14 million for a 39-year-old man. Not bad.
Well, look, the fact is that, you trade Justin Turner, you are truly throwing up the white flag.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he was their best clutch hitter.
I mean, and he's been that way in the last month. He's been incredible. I mean, look, I would tell you, and I know you guys are going to give me strange looks, and I know I can't convince Russell, but the reason the Red Sox haven't been more successful has been one guy, and I watched every game, and that's Devers. Devers has made, I know what his stats say, he's made very little impact on victories and made a great impact because of his defense and his lack of clutch hitting to losses, that I think that Devers has actually been the weakest link of this team when you take into account the expectations.
Well, yeah, definitely when you take account the expectations, I don't think I'm not going to argue that he's been good or even average. I think he's been below average. And when you throw the money into it, it's not good. Now, he's been better the last month, but his errors are pretty bad. I mean, their defense is embarrassing. It's an abominable defensive team.
Horrible. The 7th inning last night was an embarrassment.
That was terrible.
But how did they get better?
I think that's, pretty much human nature. When guys sign those big contracts, usually the first year afterwards is subpar.
Yeah, but how did they?
They've reached the big goal, their goal in life, getting $30 million a year.
Oh my God! Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And they take their foot off the gas pedal a little. Hopefully, Cora can motivate him going forward.
So Devers has been in the league 6 years? He's getting worse defensively as he goes on. Would you agree?
This year's a step back. I mean, he was much better defensively last year than he is this year. But you called it, Scotty. He was in better shape last year. His footwork isn't as good. I think he's. My guess is Devers will have a great career and will be singing his praises again soon. But this year has not been great for him. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when I bring him up right after the Justin Turner, because Justin Turner has been the anti-Rafael Devers. Clutch guy,
Oh,
contributed,
pleasant surprise.
but it seems like every night he's doing something to help you. Doesn't, win every night, but he's contributing in a positive way every night.
Right.
And he's
Right.
played first, second, third, wherever they've asked him to.
Yeah. So that's why I find it kind of ironic that if you get rid of a guy like Justin Turner, I mean, what do you got? You got a bunch of guys swinging.
But wouldn't you have been? I mean, I'd have been.
He's not your future.
Had they made the decision to sell and sold Turner and Pat, like I wanted them to buy, but the second best option to me was sell. The third best option was do nothing.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna try to have their cake and eat it too. But you got to pick some prospects to trade to high end. Like, I mean, you're not these guys. It's what we were trading on text the other day, Scotty. You said, here are the A-list prospects in the organization.
Yeah.
Everyone else you should be willing to trade.
Yeah, right.
Especially if any other team has interest in those guys. Maybe they were going to draft them, or maybe they particularly like that kid,
Well, what's Rule 5? What's Rule 5? And they have a ton of guys eligible coming up. Rule 5 is what? How many years have they been in the minor leagues? 5 years? 5, 6 years? And they're still, and most of these guys are still haven't even gone past AA. They're crap. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything. Leagues.
Move them along.
Move them along.
You're just looking there. You're just picking through who had serious injuries. Maybe had 2 Tommy Johns, and that's why they spent so much time there. But again, that's all you're looking for there.
He just wants to tread in the margins. That's all he wants to do. That's all he likes to play in. I mean, he wants to pump his tires and says he got a guy named Urias batting 145 in the minor leagues. That's when, and if that guy comes up and contributes for 3 days, then that makes Heim's month.
Yeah. Well, Dombrowski left him a good core of guys going forward, and Duran and Devers and Bayo, and these guys are under their control for like 3 to 5 years. Story.
He didn't sign Story, but Bloom did.
Oh yeah, but these guys are all under control for like 3 to 5 years. They've got a solid core of guys if they would just add around them.
Yeah,
but he doesn't seem to want to. He just wants to go to the bargain bin and throw trash around him and tell Cora to figure it out.
You're right, Joe, right. But Russ, it was pretty clear the need. The need was for a starting pitcher and a second baseman. This wasn't hard math. I mean, to go out and get, and when you're able to establish that clearly what your need is at that point, the rest should be very easy.
Not that hard. This was not a hard job. It really wasn't. Just go get a starter. If you have to overpay a little bit, that's fine because you're in a pennant race. And there's second basemen all over Major League Baseball that are available. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've got about 8 of them on the 40-man roster right now. Utility middle infielders. We got a ton of them.
And you got teams like the White Sox who are just dumping everybody. They were the A's this year. Everybody was available. I mean, you got to get a player or two from the organization that wants to get rid of all their players.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not selling high. They're just getting rid of them because they don't want to pay them.
No. We got to do some positives here. Duran, and got to hand it to Russell. He's come over. We've moved on.
I'm an open-minded person, and
truly are.
Guy's been terrific. I mean,
it's August now. He met all your criteria.
He got through slumps. He's adjusted. He's playing good defense, not great defense, but good defense. But he's changing the game with his speed. Like his speed is in play because he's getting on base. Didn't matter how fast he was last year. Couldn't get on base.
Yeah, can't steal first.
I'm going to ask the question. I'll just make a comment. I've never seen a player, forgetting about on the Red Sox, who, when he gets a base hit, basically now every time
Yeah.
he's just going to second.
Yeah. I mean, he's got double intent every time the ball goes through the infield, right? He's thinking double. Yeah.
This is
trying to force the errors, trying to force that
Yeah.
bad throw.
I mean, that's how I used to play in softball 10 years ago when I wasn't worried about blowing a hammy. But like every time the ball went through the infield in some stupid softball league, I'm like, I'm going to be on second base because they're not going to be able to make the play.
Of course, that's what you're doing. Yeah, of course, right. And then looking down.
You try to create chaos like that. I mean, that's literally what he's doing. Is he just tries to create chaos out in the field.
And you realize, like it was against Seattle, if the outfielder bounces the ball to second base in the throw, just that bounce, you're done.
Yeah.
And takes enough off the ball to he's there.
Yeah, it's the time that it bounces. You could see that in the bounce that he was finished. He's as far as this goes, as far as speed goes. I know Ellsbury was somewhat like that, but you can. I think Duran. I don't know if Duran's going to be the player that Ellsbury was for the Red Sox, but I think Duran's faster than Ellsbury.
Yeah, I think so too. And then you go back to Damon. Johnny Damon was pretty fast. He'd slowed down by the time he got into the Red Sox. But by the way, Johnny Damon is a pretty good comp to Duran, right?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Duran's a little longer.
Yeah.
A little faster.
But Damon, and Duran, I mean, Damon had no arm whatsoever. Duran's arm is a little bit better than Damon's, but
but I think Damon's a better outfielder than
he got a much better jump. Yeah. That's the one thing I don't like of it. Duran gets a very late jump on things. His speed helps him make up ground, but he could be a lot better.
No, you're right, Russ. It's a good comp. I mean, it really is a good comp, and they're left-handed hitters. So what's the ceiling for Duran? Can Duran be I forget about RBIs. Can he be a 15 home run, stolen base guy?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think 15 and 50 is in this day and age makes sense. I don't know if he's an all-star. I mean, he may make an all-star team or two if he keeps it up. He hits 25 home runs some year, but he looks like now the question that I would have is like, do you really want him playing center field? Like I'm not sure he's a 10-year center fielder. But they're set in right with right or left, they're set with Yoshida, right?
Yeah.
So if you ended up with a center fielder and you moved off of Verdugo and Duvall, you could put him in left or right.
I'd be leery of his arm in right field in Fenway. Yeah. That's the only caveat there.
Yeah.
But the irony is that from a year ago now, things are becoming much clearer moving forward of the future of the Red Sox. It's much brighter than it was a year ago. We didn't have Yoshida. Duran, we're trying to send out to Scranton, right? Casas is going to be a star player. We didn't know about that. We didn't know. Well, we'll see. Again, the jury's still out on Story being able to play short. And then Wong, at the very least, is a serviceable major league catcher.
Yeah,
didn't know that either.
He looks like he could start 90 plus games a year, right?
I was just worried about him being smaller, that he wouldn't hold up through the grind of the season. But he's done very well this year. I gotta say, especially during Maguire's injury there, he was catching a lot of games late in the season.
But here's the thing: if the Red Sox don't go out and spend real money for 2 starting pitchers in this offseason, they're not interested in winning World Series.
No, right.
Period. Like go on either with prospects, trading legitimate prospects, or signing guys on the free agent market. You've got to get 2 full-blown starting pitchers onto this staff.
Absolutely. And if you do that, it's the trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
And the Whitlocks and the Houks can be put in positions to strengthen a bullpen that's already pretty good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, and then you have a real strong pitching staff. Another player that we have to talk about is Cutter Crawford. I mean, he's a legitimate starter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's again someone they developed. Is Crawford Heim or Dombrowski?
I think he's been around long enough to have been Dombrowski.
And the other thing about Crawford is I think you got to give Cora and the pitching coach credit for bringing him along and putting him in a position where, same as Winkowski, those guys did not appear to be more than 4A pitchers last year. And they brought them along so that their confidence is up and they're contributing to a winning team.
They saw what was best. Crawford was a better starter, but Winkowski was going to be better out of the pen. He'd never been out of the pen, even in all his minor leagues. So credit to them to figure out that he's much better as a reliever.
The results are in. The Benintendi deal was a victory for Heim. Benintendi's just a stiff with a big contract now with the White Sox. They would give him to you for nothing if you take that deal. And Winkowski was from that deal right there, just straight up. That's a win, no matter what they get out of and this kid Gambrel from that deal has actually pitched really well in Portland. So you may be able to get another pitcher out of that. And of course, we got Frenchie Cordero era, which was just so entertaining.
But we just, like to Russ's point a couple minutes ago, we do need starting pitching. You got to go out and get a couple of legitimate starters, not guys who might be, who could be, or want to be, guys who are legitimate starters.
Would you take Erod back?
I would, only because Cora seemed to have a rapport with him.
Russell, would you?
Yeah, if he said the right things in my interviews, like I would talk to him and say, is this where you want to be? If he didn't, then I'd say, screw it. No.
He's got 3 years left at 15 per.
That's a pretty reasonable for a starting pitcher of his caliber.
But actually, he can opt out, I guess, after this year.
Yes.
So he has an opt out. So I don't know. I don't know if
he's pitched very well for Detroit. So ERA wise and whip wise. So I think he'll get more than the 15, which is probably a little too rich for Heim's blood.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to want to pay him any more than they could have already paid him. But yes, there's a lot of guys. Look, the guy Jordan Montgomery, who they talked about possibly acquiring, the former Yankee. He's a free agent. He'd be a good.
But you see how the Sox ended up screwing the Tigers, where they tended him back before he became a free agent. He's already been tended once, so if he opts out, the Tigers can't tender him, so they can't get, if someone signs him, they get no draft pick compensation.
Yeah,
because
what's the deal with Noah's song? The Noah's song.
No one wants Noah.
Did anyone pick him up?
See, this is what I don't understand, because the whole Rule 5 thing, they should just get rid of it. So I thought that if you don't keep the guy, he immediately goes back to the other team.
No, he has to go through waivers.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and I assume these Rule 5 guys, if they've been kicked off one team, they're going to go right through waivers and go back to the other team.
Noah's song, I guess he's coming back to the Red Sox. And of course, the Red Sox fans are just infatuated with this guy. He was throwing 9.
Do they want to pay him for not playing?
What's that?
And geez, do the Red Sox want to pay him for not playing, for being in the Navy?
No, well, he's not in the Navy anymore, Joe.
Oh, he's out?
No, he's in the minor leagues.
No more obligation?
No, they got him out. That was the whole deal of it.
Now the problem is he can't pitch. So
he's throwing 91.
Yeah.
This is a guy.
No. That's college ball.
I mean, if you can bring him back and stick him in the minors and have him build up his arm strength, maybe. But he's not a difference maker.
Yeah.
No.
Right?
I mean, that's the Red Sox fans have had him up there as a reliever. It's lunacy. Cora, terrible job managing yesterday. Very rarely do you say Cora does a poor job managing, but the whole Schreiber thing, I don't know what he was doing in the second.
I don't know what that was yesterday. That was a tough loss yesterday.
Yeah.
And Blyer, please get him off the team. I mean, I don't even know what they're doing.
A lot of times in those kind of games, he's just playing with like arm slots and different kinds of pitches to keep the other team off balance.
Well,
And it doesn't work with Blyer.
They had a day off today. Use your best pitchers and win a game. You're in a
Yeah.
Well, those were some couple of horrible plays there in the field in that seventh inning. I mean, they look like a bunch of clowns.
Yeah, well, Devers has just been so horrible that he's colliding with people. He's done that a few times this week. But Cora, I got to give him an A for the job he's done this year. Right?
Yeah, I mean he's 2 starters a week. He's 2 starts a week. He's got openers. He's got nobody who can play shortstop half the year. Nobody
Or
can play second
Yeah.
base.
And it resurrected Pavetta's career. Pavetta was done.
Yeah.
That was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah.
Do we have anything good to say about Heim?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not like every move Heim makes stinks. It's just that
He's taken too much time.
he's not a general manager in the Boston market. I'm sorry. Like, go to Cleveland, go to Tampa, go to some, bottom half market, and he's fine. But like, what are we doing here?
We don't do 5-year plans.
Right.
We do 2-year plans. We'll give you 1 year to turn things around, and this next year you're supposed to have things fixed.
Joe's stat earlier tells you all you need to know about Heim, right? The record after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
That's a freaking joke.
He doesn't care. Obviously, he doesn't care.
That's a joke.
Okay.
One of them, like, what was it, 20 that year doesn't count, but the other 2 do. He did nothing, and it reflected it.
When Heim first came there in his initial press conference, I told you on the show that I couldn't believe how uncomfortable he was in front of the microphone. Now we're talking about 4 years later, and he's still uncomfortable in front of the microphone. To call the team underdogs, first of all, they got a $200 million payroll. This isn't the little engine that could here, pal. Does he? What? I mean, what is he just so uncomfortable in front of the microphone that he doesn't know what he's saying?
Well, I think he's been built up to be this nerdy genius. I actually don't think I don't see it. Like I don't. He's not comfortable articulating himself.
No,
he doesn't seem to be creative at all with the moves that he makes.
No,
he has no command of the market. I mean, he misreads them. Like the one thing you can bet on in the offseason is Heim's going to misread the market every time.
And he's not even close.
Not even close.
No.
So yeah, do you give him credit for Yoshida? Absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
Do you give him credit for, you go down the line and he's got guys that he should get credit for, but dude.
Well, so these Asian players right now, obviously some guy named Otani, maybe you heard of him, but a lot of these other guys, the guy who's pitching for the Mets and stuff, have really excelled and been stars lately. If you go out and get that star pitcher who's going to be available after the offseason, that addresses right there, Russ, a huge need, and
That's
you give away nothing but
one
money.
of the 2. That's one slot, and get another one, and then at least you've got a rotation to. You can build a rotation around 2 good starters, Bayo, and then whatever pieces survive, whether it's Paxton or Whitlock or Houck or Crawford or whatever, right? Or whoever can come up.
Yeah, well, the hope is that at some point the Johans of the world, or the Matas and stuff, they could develop, and they got these guys. They've got some guys out in the minor leagues,
right?
That should be up in the next year or 2, pitcher wise.
But obviously, they have an excellent scout over there in Japan. Because just about everyone else panned Masa. Everyone panned him, and the Red Sox scout was the one that talked Heim into signing him. And what a winner!
Well, the hope is that
I hope whoever else he wants to sign over there, I'll go with him.
Yeah, well, this is going to be this Japanese pitcher. They get him, and that'd be a nice.
Well, that's great because it doesn't impact your minor league system.
That's right.
It doesn't impact your major league roster, other than losing a space on the 40. All you do is pay money, and you get an instant starter in your rotation. You can't beat that.
Yeah. And look, the Red Sox have some great prospects coming up, but there's going to be only so much space they can, guys can only play a certain field. So guys like Roman Anthony, maybe they make it or maybe they're traded, but you better, I mean, you're going to have to do something at some point, I mean, it's how much more time does Heimel have left, or does John Henry not even care?
I think what he did this trade deadline has the look of someone who's very comfortable and secure in his job.
Yeah, I think John Henry said, that's all right. Don't worry, we'll get him next year.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the series, and that's what we're going to talk about. The series coming up this weekend. It's really make it or break it. So
well, the team right in front of them.
You take 2 out of 3, and you're right there.
Right.
You lose 2 out of 3, you're teetering. You get swept. It's
yeah. You lose 2 out of 3, you're going to need to go on a 10-win streak or something to
especially where you just came off a 2-4 road trip.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, losing 2 out of 3 to Oakland, and then losing 2 out of 2, going 2-4.
2 bad West Coast trips. Yes.
Yeah, and these the Giants and the Mariners are not good teams.
Yeah, no, I thought
they played the Giants good. Those were good
did.
games. All 3 games I thought were good.
They were.
Competitive games.
But you need to win them.
Yes. Yeah. San Francisco came to the fore in the late innings in each one of those games.
Were you surprised? I was thinking that they were going to start marketing Jansen, but I guess they never did. Thought he would be a guy that would have gotten a nice return.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to middle it, you cannot trade your closer. I mean, we saw what happened last year where they didn't have a closer and they were horrible, right? So that strategy, I'd rather see them. I would rather have seen them trade Paxton than Jansen if they had any hopes of. You trade Paxton if you think you've gotten the best out of him, which may be the case.
Yeah, and he's a free agent.
Well, I think that, if he stays healthy, you just re-sign him. Again.
I mean,
that hasn't been Heim's track record.
Roddy, we would have said the same thing about Waka last year. Why not
Rivaldi?
Waka? I mean, the guy was fantastic.
And they should have re-signed him.
Let him walk. I mean, I don't know. Again,
and a couple of years ago, Erod. It hasn't been his track record to re-sign guys.
The fact that they let Waka walk and they signed Kluber instead, when Waka showed he could pitch in Boston in Fenway Park with efficiency, it's just that's all you need to know about Heim. They gave Waka no credit for proving that he could do what he did.
Yeah.
They didn't give Vivaldi any credit. Hunter Renfroe, no credit for actually performing in Boston.
Yeah.
0 credit for that. They just lets him walk or trades him off.
Great point. I would say the worst thing that's happened in the Heim administration was that they got to the ALCS.
Right. And looking back on that was a fluke. Freaking Kike Hernandez went on the best 10 streak of his life. Literally. It was the only
best
time
streak I've ever seen of any player.
Right.
I think it was historic and no one else had ever done it.
And that's why they made it that far. But that was a fluke in retrospect.
And throwing out the guy at home plate there in that Yankees game. That was
I've never seen something like Kike Hernandez. Every time up, it was like
double home run.
He was playing T-ball.
Yeah.
Every ball he hit was an absolute rocket.
It was him in Ortiz in 2013. I've never seen anything like either of those playoffs.
Yeah. And he went up there and you knew he was going to get something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a temporary fluky year.
And then it was just like the spigot got shut off too. Boom. And down the tubes, lost 3 in a row.
They couldn't get
See you later.
Yep.
All right, boys, we go to the Patriots. Lots of buzz about this kid Douglas, the wide receiver.
I wonder, is he Zach Sudfeld or is he the real thing? Or is he Julian Edelman?
Joe, we always talk about, and our friend Kevin taught us this. It's when they put on the pads.
Yeah.
And they've been talking about this kid from the moment they got to training camp. This guy is just faster and gets it more than anyone. I mean, you got other players, the defense is talking about him.
Yeah.
It'd be a nice acquisition to have acquired a quality slot receiver in the 6th round.
Hopefully he's got some smarts so that he can be like Edelman, who was at practice today, and always make the right decision looking at the defense and where to go and when to go.
I don't think that was a coincidence, Russ, that Edelman was there. I'm sure he was taking Douglas aside and showing him a few things.
Yeah, he's done well with that position. I mean, the only receiver position he's ever really done well with in terms of drafting and developing is that small slot, the receiver, right? Between Welker and Jacoby Myers and now this guy, even the guy he cut, Braxton Berrios, ended up with a decent career, right?
But isn't this it? The Jets. Doesn't this kind of suit Mac Jones's personality and ability to have that kind of guy?
Yeah.
And this.
By the way, I saw this very interesting. Somebody on Twitter did a comparison of Zay Flowers rather, and Demario Douglas. Same basic height, same basic weight, basically the same 40, same vertical, like very, very, you can slide a piece of paper in between them statistically. Wow. Now, of course, Douglas played at Liberty, right?
Yeah.
So, but when you just look at the athletes, he's right there.
Yeah.
Well, Douglas played with, a high caliber quarterback, wasn't he? He was a 2nd round pick.
He was. Yeah. He started a few games last year. It's terrible.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Willis, right?
Yeah. Malik Willis.
That would fill some holes. The rumors this weekend, of course, he came for a visit, was Elliott, formerly of the Cowboys. That'd be a nice fit.
Yeah, somebody could carry the ball 8 times a game down by the goal line, give Stevenson a break. He catches the ball too. Like Elliott can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Oh yeah, he's a great back. And Ramondre worked hard last year. He was 1,000-yard rusher, caught almost 70 passes. He was the de facto blitz picker-upper. They had to have him in on 3rd down and sneaking out to the flat. By the end of the year, he was done. He was just disappeared in the last 4 games.
Yeah.
I think I have this LeGarrette Blount feeling with Elliott if he came in. Blount he was fantastic for the Patriots. And I feel, and he was obviously a very
Elliott's a 1st down back. He can run on 1st down.
Right.
No, but I'm saying as far as acquiring these running backs later in their career,
although
you'll get something out of them.
I believe that Blount's first pass through the Patriots, he was significantly younger than Zeke Elliott.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Yeah, Blount was a young player. There was a discipline problem. Remember, he hit a guy. Yeah. So he was maybe 26 the first time through with the Patriots, and then they brought him back again for the 2nd time. But he had more left in his tank than Zeke.
Yeah, and Zeke's probably looking for a more lucrative contract than the Patriots are prepared to give, to a running back. Apparently they were one of the first teams that cheaped out on running backs and started this whole trend of not paying them.
Well, this Cook and Elliott and some other guys are out there, so there's no reason for them not to get somebody to supplement Stevenson.
Well, they're hoping they can play the waiting game. And when like Elliott or Cook starts to get cold feet and starts to get worried that they're not going to get paid this year and will accept a lesser deal. That's what the Patriots are just going to play poker with them and try to get them.
I'm not always, but they've done very well with veteran running backs coming in.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we could just name them. They've won a lot of Super Bowls because of those guys. Antoine Smith, Corey Dillon. I'm sure you guys can remember some others.
It does sound like, however, throw a little cold water on this. It does sound like our friend Thornton, the receiver, may be another bust, maybe another second bust.
Yeah.
And they could have taken Pickens, who looks like just my God.
He was like 2 picks later with Pickens.
Oh my God.
As I've been saying for years, man, outsource it Just
Yeah.
outsource it. Don't.
Stop listening to the scout. You can't listen to some of these scouts. You know, they tell you that N'Keal Harry and Tyquan Thornton are the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know,
I think
sometimes you have to go
I
with
think he listens to their coaches too much. I think he knew the Baylor coach.
Yeah.
I think he listens to these guys, college coaches too much. Like, no, that's not who you want to listen to. I'm sorry.
If they have a vested interest in getting a higher draft pick for their guys, it
Absolutely.
makes it easier for them to recruit. Hey, look, I had a couple second-round draft picks. You want to go to the NFL? Come here.
Yep.
Again, remember, Thornton played a good portion of the season. He was on the roster playing.
Yeah.
He hasn't practiced for the last, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, he's just, this is, he feels like a bust.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, Butte got his first catch, so he has more catches than Thornton.
Oh, yeah, I don't think Booty, he's not going to make the team.
Yeah.
No, it's bad. It's really bad. It's really bad.
And again, they can't figure it out. But the punter and the field goal kicker, I think that's a great story that they draft. It looks like they're going to have the starting punter and field goal kicker are rookies.
Yep.
And apparently,
they didn't do any worse than they did last year. Now, Nick Folk did a good job
last year,
but that punter was just awful.
Bailey was as bad a punter as I can remember the Patriots had, and they've had some really bad
when
ones.
He first came up, he was all pro. He was great. He hang time about 10 seconds. They just ran underneath every punt, and then all of a sudden he started kicking it out of bounds 30 yards downfield.
So they go out of their way every day to say, this Bill O'Brien, this is a completely different team offensively. We're disciplined. We know what the heck we're doing. Again, this is coming from the heart from these players. It's not like Bill O'Brien is throwing them bouquets. He's a tough guy, but they're happy to have that kind of discipline. It shows good signs for this season.
Yeah. Belichick has always let whoever the offensive coordinator is run the show over there on offense. Josh had a free reign for all those years. And Bill O'Brien was the offensive coordinator here before, so he knows he can do what he wants. He'll get his way when it comes to a team meeting. What he says will go.
I think they're going to make a trade for offensive tackle. Would you be surprised by that?
I mean, that would be amazing.
I think that I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to depend on Brown. I think they've already.
They definitely need a tackle. I think now, Joe, it's looking like McDermott won the right tackle job, and
he was a practice squad guy on the Jets last year. Remember, they got him from the Jets practice squad. What do you guys think of the Jack Jones incident today?
I don't know what happened.
He just left the field. He had Kendrick Bourne caught a pass. Now, remember, Kendrick last year was involved in a couple of altercations, but there was no punches thrown. They had a few words said, and Jones walked off the field. He threw his gloves down and walked off the field. Spoke to a couple guys on the way out, and then but no training staff. He wasn't injured or anything like that. Just walked off the field. And 20 minutes later, he came back and stood on the sidelines in full uniform.
Imagine
no one knows what happens.
Imagine Jack Jones doing something weird.
Yeah, right.
Like he isn't in hot water enough.
Well, he just can't keep it together. That was a bad draft pick. You got to vet these guys better than that. And this guy, we know the history of him. They're going to have to cut him.
It feels like it. I mean, what are they doing? It just doesn't.
These teams will always go for talent.
Yeah, especially in the cornerback position, and especially at his price. Remember, they pay cornerbacks a lot of money, starting cornerbacks. They get this guy for like what, $1 million and a half bucks?
Wide receivers and cornerbacks are always shady characters. Yeah, you don't see many Larry Fitzgerald.
Well, the thing is, they've been sort of coddled all their lives and told that they're prima donnas, right? And that's just.
They're more likely to be Antonio Browns than Larry Fitzgerald.
Right.
You think that's
Right.
why they stayed away from Pickens and took Thornton, because Pickens is a big personality and Belichick doesn't?
Well,
Like
that
this-
would make you anti-talent, Scotty. I mean,
And that's
I
not
think
what he is.
in a way, Belichick is anti-talent right now. I mean, he's not picking the most talented individuals. There's no question about that.
He wants good citizens, but then again, he takes Jack Jones, so it completely
Yeah,
is contradictory to that.
Speaking out of both sides of his mouth at all times, and he can no longer distinguish between what's best for him and what's best for the team. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, it was just an unusual situation today. But I thought it was interesting that, remember, last year it was Kendrick Bourne that caused a couple of problems. He started 2 fights last year, and he was in the doghouse all year.
Well,
And
the
then today
defense,
it happens again.
the defense, I think, will be very strong this year. I mean, could be top 7 defense. Would you say that's?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
They're facing some stiff competition. They got all the best quarterbacks this year. They're going to have to be good.
Yeah.
We're gonna be making our predictions pretty soon.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Well, you at one point when I checked it,
Russ looks like the cat that ate the canary. He's got something up his sleeve.
Well,
I'm pretty much
85.6 win total.
exactly. I'm pretty much right on the Red Sox number.
Yeah.
So
You have been on the Red Sox number, but you want to give us a coming attraction? Anything you want?
I'm trying to decide whether they're going to go 10-7 or 9-8.
Okay. All right.
That's
Joe,
what I'm trying to decide.
what are you thinking about?
No, he's going to pull the rug right out from under us and give us an 11-6 or something.
Oh
when it
wow!
comes time.
I don't think they can get there. I think the competition is to your
Too
point,
stiff.
too strong. Yeah.
Well,
They've got the toughest schedule in the NFL by far.
What kind of
No one
works
else
with
is
your?
even close.
But it works with your narrative, Russell, because you're talking. You're all in with the quarterback.
I
And
think
if
Mac
you're-
Jones is going to have a pretty good bounce back year. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback, but I think he could be like a top 12 quarterback in the NFL.
And remember about 10 years ago, the Patriots had a schedule like this where they faced every big quarterback in the league. And they did very well that year, as I recall. And it wasn't Brady carrying, it was the defense carrying him.
Joe, I told you this 100 million times. It doesn't matter with our Boston sports teams who they play. It's whether they get their stuff together. When our teams, we've won a lot of championships in this town because when we got our stuff together, nobody can beat us. And when we don't, we can lose to the Oakland A's.
Yep.
Literally a double A.
2 out of 3.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Remember, there was a time where like the quarterbacks, like third string quarterbacks, were beating us up and having their best game in their career, and then we never see them.
Yep.
So we're going to the Celtics. First of all right, the whole Gallinari thing. I know you laughed, Russell, but this is the way these guys in the NBA. We just paid Gallinari like $12 million to do absolutely squat. Never played 1 minute.
Yeah.
Now he goes to the
He's
Wizards.
upset.
And he's like, I'm circling the Celtics game for what? To go get his gym bag back?
Yeah, I mean, and he hurt himself not even working out with the Celtics. He hurt himself playing for
Extracurricular.
right? So it's just like, dude, read the room, right? No one, and by the way, no one cares. He was just trying to. Where is he? Down in Washington? It's the most irrelevant basketball franchise in the NBA right now.
It is.
And he's
absolutely.
He's considered to be a charismatic figure on that team. Like, whatever.
No.
Yeah, the Wizards need some press, no matter how they get it.
Okay, I know I asked these questions. Would the Celtics have made the finals if Gallinari had been healthy the whole season?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, he would have
given you more than
Grant
Hauser.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have been. Yeah, I do. I think they would have made the finals had Gallinari. They would have probably gotten out of those first 2 rounds earlier, right?
Yeah, right. So it just shows you Brad's on it. He's on it. Brad.
He doesn't rest on his laurels. He's still working to get a better team.
What
with
would
what
Brad
he's got.
Stevens have done? What would Brad Stevens have done at the MLB trading deadline for the Red Sox?
Starter and a
Brad,
second baseman for you.
yeah, no, Brad would have, if you equate in basketball trading a first round pick to trading a decent prospect. I mean, Brad traded 3 straight first round picks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Brad would have traded
Nick York.
He would have traded maybe Nick York or
Yeah.
Rafaela or to get a piece that he felt could put them over the top. This is what he does. That's what he's been doing.
Right. And it's been coming up roses. I mean, look, shouldn't we have faith in what not only Steve, but what we don't see, Joe, in that Marcus Smart Porzingis deal? I mean, Brad's just
Well,
not
I think
rid of Marcus Smart.
Brad was taking care of Missoula there. Mark was a little too big for his britches for what he gave the team. So I think he was in Missoula's way, and that's why he's gone.
So
yeah, look, I think I think you got to give Brad credit. Look, I think if the sliding door moment right now is Brogdon's freak injury, to his elbow, that is not because he's been injury prone. He had a freak injury to his elbow, which, really did not allow him to play up to his potential.
And he played all year.
I actually think they would have made the finals had Brogdon been healthy. Yeah. And had Brogdon been healthy, had they not made the finals, Brogdon would be in LA and you'd still have Smart, or you would have traded Smart for Tyus Jones and the picks. Like, the fact that Brogdon had a freak elbow injury has actually cost the Celtics a tremendous amount of opportunity.
Well, that's true. Yeah, right. Because it restricted what they really wanted to do, was Brogdon.
Yeah, I don't think the team is as deep this year, but it is better constituted, a stronger team.
Well, look, I like Brogdon when healthy better than Marcus Smart. I just do. I know you guys agree.
No, I mean, I think Scotty, I think it's a close call, but the problem is you got to throw the when healthy in, right? And so,
but actually, Brogdon plays. Marcus didn't play more than 50 a year.
No, they're both going to play at least. There's not going to play any more than 60 either of them.
No, and look, the bet that they're making is that Marcus is on the downside. He's in the back nine. And that Marcus may have more of a steep fall off than Brogdon, because Brogdon's on the back nine too.
Yeah,
they're both on the back nine.
Right.
Question is, who's going to be more useful longer?
But you got Porzingis, who could be.
You got Porzingis. Now, the other part of the Brogdon thing, frankly, is had you traded Brogdon, who's more expensive than Smart, you probably would have kept Grant Williams.
Yeah, each day that goes by. No, you're right. But each day goes by, I miss Grant Williams less and less.
Yeah. I think, Brad did a lot of things to make Ime's job a lot easier.
He did.
And I think by getting rid of Grant and Marcus, he made Missoula's job a lot easier. He's very good to his coaches. He takes care of them very well, I think. He doesn't present them with problems. He presents them with opportunities.
Yep.
Which I think is good.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I just don't think Grant is the modern day player. And his numbers defensively were horrible. If you like stats,
he always couldn't play defense. He's just a bully ball guy. He was too slow to anyone fast, and he was too small to guard anyone big.
But would you agree? Right? But would you agree you can't have a guy in a playoff rotation who can play in some series but can't play in others?
No, he's not. Why they ultimately didn't sign him was to your point, Scott. He's not consistently a top 7 player, right? There are certain guys in the NBA. The Celtics are not going to play defense against the Milwaukee Bucks as well as they have over the last few years, period, without Grant and Smart. Like, those two dudes actually played Giannis well on defense.
Embiid.
Yeah. So we're going to be, but Grant's useless. He was useless in the Atlanta series. He couldn't guard anybody.
In Miami too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go to the Boston Bruins, and look, Bergeron retires. Russell's Minky Krejci clearly is going to retire.
He already said he's only going to play for the Czech team.
Okay, Swayman just signed a deal. What, arbitration, I guess.
Yeah.
Allmark is signed. If you look at the team, they have holes. Would you try to fill some of them by moving one of the goalies?
Yeah, I trade Oldmark and try to get a center for some center depth.
Yeah, right now it's Lauko, Coyle, and maybe Frederick as the third line.
Zacha. No, it's Zacha. And
Zacha,
Coyle
yeah.
will be 1 and 2, and then Frederick is probably the third, and then it's a free for all.
Yeah.
But is Charlie Coyle? Charlie Coyle is a third line center. Pavel Zacha is a second line center. They don't have a first line center.
When we tried Coyle a couple of years ago as the second line center, remember?
Yeah,
and it didn't go well.
Right. Now he was hurt that year. Legitimately hurt. I think he's a really solid player. Could he play second line? Sure, but isn't that what Pavel Zacha is, a second line center?
Yeah, you got to give him some good wings too,
Yeah.
How far away are they from the Vegas team that won it all?
Oh God! Now with losing Orlov and all those guys, Bergeron, Krejci, a long way off. Yeah,
Hathaway.
You'll probably be a defense first team, defense and goaltending. It's like going to be welcome back to the Bruce Cassidy era.
Yeah.
What is this a team that can challenge for the cup?
Sure, you get a hot goalie. Carolina was ass all last year and made it to the finals, right? So, sure, you get a hot goalie, great defense, and some guys play well. Yeah,
Florida.
The thing about hockey is that any team in the top 10 has a shot at it.
And in the Stanley Cup playoffs, injuries are the trump card.
Yeah.
You have to be able to stay healthy.
Other than the Celtics, the other three teams, which one will win a title next?
Oof.
Not the Celtics, because we know that would be you. Obviously, you guys would answer the Celtics. The other three teams, of the three teams, which would you bet would win next?
I'm glad Tim's not here because I'd say definitely not. I'd put the Bruins third.
I would say the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe, I would say the Red Sox. I'm agreeing with you, Russ. I think it's the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think it's the Red Sox. They have the least to go. You add the right couple of pitches there, and you've got a winning team.
Yeah, Red Sox could be really good next year. They really could. I don't know if Heim is the one who's supposed to be there. We finish up with gambling. We've talked about this on the show. Rumors are some Vegas guy got jammed up, some Vegas gangster, and he's already named names. Named a Denver Bronco lineman, and he named an Iowa State field goal kicker. Both throwing games and betting games. They said the list is long. And there's a lot of big names on it.
Well, wasn't the Denver lineman there? They caught him betting on his own game.
Yeah,
I don't know whether it was for or against, but
no, but that's the guy. Yeah, he was the one who got leaked in this Iowa State field goal kicker. The guy's leaking him. Leaking him when he's whatever he's doing. He's trying to cut a deal. So this is the most predictable thing of all time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure is.
And it was just a couple years ago. They were like, "Oh no! The devil is the gambling." And now we're throwing teams in Vegas. Everything. It seems like it's just a form for gambling now. Sports.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to react if some big names are throwing games?
They're not going to do anything. Right, they're going to try to downplay it as much as possible. At this point, they've made the bed. They're living off of that gambling money now. They're all their financial projections in their leagues and all their media deals are based on the fact that they expect a big onslaught of gambling money.
Yeah.
They can't just turn that off now. That would ruin them if they turned off that gambling money.
Yeah, if there's a scandal, they'll suspend the guy and they'll sweep it under the rug. They'll have all their press, their media people just make it a non-story. They're not allowed to even print anything about it.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
No, these are great points because they're already changing the rules. Now they were suspended, these guys, the Lions and stuff. Now they're like, okay, you can bet on other sports. They've already changed it.
Yeah.
Just don't bet. And they're basically saying, don't bet on your game.
Yeah. I mean, if they just tell them, don't bet on your own sport. Don't bet on any NFL. If you're an NFL player.
And you don't bet on NFL property.
Don't bet on your NFL. Don't bet in the NFL.
Yeah.
And anything
can't
else.
Be on NFL property when you're betting. You got to be outside. Can't be in the parking lot.
Like if a guy's in a locker room and he wants on an NFL team and he wants to bet on the NBA, what the fuck do I care about that? Like, what is that?
You and I don't, but it looks bad for them that they're allowing betting in their locker rooms.
Well, they're allowing betting in their stadium. They're promoting betting in their stadium.
For you and me, not for
I mean, doesn't matter if Matthew Judon wants to bet on the Red Sox tonight. Does anybody care? What does that have any impact on anybody?
No.
Speaking of the Red Sox, I wish they would work something with their Wi-Fi and have like a DraftKings corner where you can get some decent reception.
No, I'm getting more and more anti-sports betting. I think that it's really bad for everybody now. I just I'm off it.
I'm the only thing I'll bet on is some futures. Like I bet, and it wasn't even much, but I bet on the Patriots at over 8.5, and I bet on Ramondre Stevenson 10+ rushing touchdowns.
7.5 now.
Yeah, I mean I bet an alternative line.
Yeah.
So I bet a higher. It was an alt line, Joe, an alt over.
Well, you know what I found I like just betting the money line on baseball. Don't win a lot, but I don't lose. I win like $20-30 a day, slow and steady. You know, it's pretty easy. I mean, you bet the money line against the Oakland A's. They've only won 26 games all year. You're gonna win. The Pirates, you know, the Royals, this teams, the Rockies, they're not gonna win. You're gonna win at least 2 out of 3 times, right? And so you just take the little $7 a game, and you win. You can't lose, especially when they give you those like profit boosts and stuff, and you use it. You almost can't lose.
Well, it was wearing me out somehow, and I had a 22-game losing streak. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's because you do the parlays. The parlays are the suckers bet. They'll give you all sorts of parlays. Just bet the money line or the run or the spread. Just bet that, and you'll win every time. You'll win. You'll win always.
I was worn out from losing. All right, but thanks, Joe.
Well, you do 5-6 leg parlays. You can't. One of them's not going to come through.
It keeps me interesting. Excuse me. All right, that's our
that. And they don't give any good odds. The parlays, you get crappy odds. Have you noticed? I got one tonight. I bet one for Shohei Ohtani to get a hit, 6+ strikeouts, and the money line for the Angels to win. You know what a $10 bet gets you there?
What?
$24.
That's ridiculous. Then you don't make that bet. That's ridiculous.
You know, I already hit it before. I thought $24. That's stupid.
That's ridiculous.
But that's lousy odds, especially with the 6+ strikeouts.
Right. All right. Well, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank, of course, the fellas. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune again next Thursday night at 7 o'clock for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.
The Cavalry